Podcast. Today we got Alan Millard, Carl Augustusson, and Thomas Carney with us today, all men's rights activists and intactivists. And today we're going to be going over some intactivist related content, and we're just going to dive right into it here. Anything you guys want to say before I start rolling?
Appreciate being here and being accommodated with our issues.
Cool. All right, sounds good. Go ahead, Carl.
No.
Okay. So the reason that I wanted to have this discussion today is because I wanted to share an initiative or an organization that I'm working on related to intactivism called Forefront USA. And I'm working on a website for this organization right now. And I think that's the best way to demonstrate the scope of this organization and what I'm looking to bring to the table with it. So we're going to briefly go over that and then get into some other intactivist related discussion points here. So let me share my screen. You guys can see this, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the homepage. The first section that we're looking at here is called the Hero section on a homepage right up here. And I think it articulates the scope of this organization pretty well. We're looking to build the projects that intactivism has been missing. And this is all a work in progress right now. It's really in a beta phase, this website. And I'm going to do a hard launch in the near future once I clean it up a little more. So an example in the right-hand column here is a project, the first project that Forefront is working on, which is a web asset. It's an asset that will primarily live on the web of an interactive 3D model of an intact penis. So somebody on the web will be able to retract the foreskin. They'll be able to visualize an intact penis, number one. And that's a big deal right now because the American public it's very abstract to them, this anatomy, right? They can't build any sort of mental model, even a simple or complex one in a lot of instances. So sometimes, a picture can speak 1,000 words or whatever the saying is, but an interactive 3D model can maybe say 1,000,000. And so that's what we're looking to produce here is an interactive 3D model for the web. You can land on a web page, and that will be probably hosted on Forefront at first, but we want to distribute this asset for anyone to use as well. But originally, it's just going to be published on Forefront. And so with this interactive 3D model, you'll be able to retract the foreskin fully. So you'll be able to drag essentially with your finger or your mouse, your cursor, right, the foreskin all the way back of this detailed 3D model. I'm still walking through how high fidelity I'd like it to be because lower fidelity is sometimes more palatable to people, meaning less detailed. Sometimes is a little more palatable to people than this like really refined piece of intact anatomy, for example. So anyway, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here real quick. And I'm gonna go to another page in just a minute. But yeah, just to debrief that a little bit more. This asset will primarily be used for the web, but we're also going to make some video content with it. So we can use this asset for a variety of different purposes. And this is really just to help clearly communicate to the public what this anatomy is. And then the next phase is actually showing a cut penis, right? And so comparing and contrasting the differences. This is the anatomy that's removed. And also what we're going to have on this intact model is a heat map overlay of the sensory of the different sensory regions that are being amputated essentially. So it'll show this is concentrated erogen, this has concentrated nerves and it's highly erogenous tissue, underneath the foreskin. Because right now the American public is saying, hey, this is redundant, unnecessary tissue that serves no value. And literally, it's like the complete opposite of what they think. It's highly erogenous.
I think that's changing, though. I think a lot of the American public, more and more, they are aware of what's going on.
The younger ones are like we've seen the recent. I'm
The
sure
younger ones are.
Thomas, you saw the recent study that was published related to the G spot on a man. Maybe you saw that, and they're
Yep.
saying it's the frenular delta. So we are seeing
Yep.
these cracks. But at the same time, based on all my observations, there's still not that solid mental model that they have yet.
Right.
of the tissue. Yeah.
But why is this coming from? Why does this have to? What's so infuriating is why does this have to come from you and not the medical profession and the medical establishment? Like, isn't their job to study anatomy and educate us on it? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous that it has to come from someone like you.
Layman's outside of the field entirely. Yeah, for me, it's honestly the most shameful and heartbreaking thing to unravel and discover that these subject matter experts have just abandoned really all logic and reason and duty, and they
Well,
really have. Yeah, go ahead,
can
Alan.
I interject here for a
Sure,
moment? I I want to bring in some other perspectives here or
sure.
interests,
Yeah.
perhaps. There's money in it. Uh,
Mhm.
they're using the foreskin in research and in cosmetics. It's really kind of sick. I mean,
Sure.
that's a whole nother area of consideration. Are you guys aware of this as well?
Oh, 100%.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we're all hardcore activists. Yeah.
oh yeah,
Okay, good. Uh, and
I've literally wept over that reality. It's dystopian and horrifying.
okay,
Like
I
they
want to,
harvest the tissues and sell it in a tissue trade.
yeah,
And
and
men
they're
accept
putting
it.
it
Our
in their faces.
primary sexual sensory tissues are being harvested and sold in a tissue trade. It's like a declaration of war on us, is how it
And
feels
men
like.
do not.
Well, it's
And
like Oregon.
what do most men do about it? Fucking nothing. They
Yeah,
do
but so,
absolutely nothing. If every man woke up tomorrow and said this is going to stop, it would stop
oh
tomorrow.
yeah.
And they do absolutely nothing about it. It's
I
so pathetic.
100% agree with
Well,
you,
that's
Thomas. But
because
Alan,
the
what were you
way
saying?
their
Sorry, I
men
know we
are
cut you off.
trained, they're they're indoctrinated not to care. That's part of being a man. In fact, I remember in high school where if you weren't circumcised, you were like gay. You were considered gay or not.
That's what
I
my
mean,
grandma
not the
thought when I
gayest
brought this
bad.
up. Yes, that's exactly what she said. She's like, "Are you sure you're not gay, Carter?" I'm like, "What?
Oh
What
my
does that
God.
possibly have to do with this?"
Really? Oh,
100%. Yep, 100%.
that makes me just infuriated.
Yeah,
Good Lord. Are you lesbian if you aren't circumcised? That's what I would
exactly.
have.
She's like, "Well, why would you fixate so much on this then? If it was like she even brought up something related to docking. I'm like, "How do you even know about that, Grandma?" She's like an 80-year-old woman. But I've finally gotten through to my family a few years back, and they're fully on board and 100% supportive. But even then, it's still challenging to fully um,
Grasp.
come to terms with that. Yeah, yeah. I've never really
Yeah.
been fully able to
Uh,
forgive my entire
okay,
family.
I want to present a quick scenario here. If all of a sudden we were circumcising little baby girls,
Right.
and then men were using that as a cosmetic, maybe even something to enhance their penis size or some goofy thing like that. Do you think that would be something that would go over okay? Like, oh, just accept it
Sure,
as a
sure.
woman.
It's just ghoulish. It's literally like
Yeah.
ghoulish
I mean,
behavior.
it's so
Yeah.
crazy.
You, you
It
you
just
you don't
shows
even
you.
have to use men's products as your example. You could say cutting girls' clits off and using them for the same thing they're using the foreskins for. That alone would cause outrage. I
But
mean,
yeah,
you're taking to a product for men. That's taken to a level above and beyond that. You don't even
yes,
get to that
yes,
point.
yeah.
Right.
Well, men are benefiting at the expense of little baby girls. I mean, that's exactly what we're
Yeah,
doing with the cosmetic thing with
And
women.
then here's the other extremely difficult to accept perverse dimension of this. It's like the extra perverse twist on all of this is that the vast majority now, well, it's somewhat up for debate, but if you look at the majority of pediatricians and obstetricians, which are the individuals that cut children, in the United States, the majority of them are women. So the blunt reality is that probably the vast majority of neonatal genital mutilation is happening at the hands of women in the United States right now, especially the nurses, the physicians. So for me, I'm going to be honest, guys. I feel like the ultimate loser. Like I feel like I just lost in life. I have very severe damage from circumcision. It's very invasive for me. I am restoring right now, but the fact that women are causing this damage to men now, as the majority, it just it feels very dystopian. But what I'm trying to highlight is It does feel like a declaration of war on me. It feels like, men in this country went to war over a taxation on tea, historic in the United States, at least. We're getting just butchered here in mass. 3,000 infants a day are the metrics that I've come up with, at a million a year, essentially, are being genitally mutilated. I mean, honestly, what's more important than that to address? I mean, there's very few things maybe that we could even identify that's more important than severe sexual battery happening on neonates. I mean, they're literally the most, you see there's some of this video photographic evidence out there. It's heinous stuff. I mean, this is probably the worst trauma of their lives happening at the most critical time of development. Like, this can probably totally change the trajectory of neurological development. I suffered horribly. There was no anesthetic given for me. It's hard to even say if that would improve the outcome in certain instances, because you have to be really careful with local and general anesthetic with neonates. They can die from it very easily. They can have permanent brain damage. There can be long-term concerns. So it's just like, we really just should avoid radical procedures on children if we can. But anyway, it's weeks of trauma afterwards. There's this, for me, I had like the whole skin system amputated. So like they literally put a bell halfway down my penis and amputated the whole mobile skin system
Ah, jeez.
in like a 30-minute long torture mutilation. So for me, in my mind, everything is screaming like, go to war with the United States. People,
Fuck
I
yeah,
know, I know how militant and
absolutely.
crazy that sounds, but it's like, you
Take to
guys
the
really
streets.
fucked up. And if you're saying you're uneducated like the Taliban is uneducated, right?
Yeah,
And
good
sometimes
We
we
should
just
never
comparison.
have,
stop. We should never stop pressure. We should be putting in activist flyers in every city, in every bus stop, every bathroom, every gym. I mean, I wear this shirt. I don't know if it's reversed or not on your angle, but I now do not leave the house if I'm not wearing a men's rights shirt or an intactivism shirt. I have my intactivism shirt somewhere here, and if you've seen it before, I think you've all seen it. It just says, "Circumcision is not harmless. Circumcision removes the frenulum, the ridge band, and marginal corpuscles." And when I talk about circumcision, I no longer use the consent aspect of it, because I don't really care about the consent
I don't
aspect of it.
either. I'm
I care
like,
about the
yeah.
damage that it did. It's the damage that it did. I'm
Right.
fine with vaccinating babies with their consent.
Circumcision, I'd like to say this is circumcision is a symptom of men's absence of equality to women. And that right, if you could have something on the shirt that says men's rights and then says that, it would incorporate the two perfectly. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Um,
I
because that's
you
the
know,
truth.
I've
Okay,
you know,
go
I'm
ahead.
trying to get this global treaty on men's rights, and I've listed nearly 50 ways in which men are suffering around the world. No hypotheticals, I didn't make things up. And I'm going to say, of the nearly 50 issues that men have around the world, if I had to pick any one for being the worst, the absolute worst is the whole notion of like patriarchy and like male disposability in general. But more specifically, this is the worst. I mean, if men are not even getting their natural bodies, I mean, that is just totally messed up. But Carter, I think you touched on, without realizing it, one of the reasons it's so difficult. I cannot imagine what it's like for cut men like you to have to come to terms with what was done to you. And I think for a lot of men, it's just simply easier to convince yourself this was a good thing. But if it's a good thing, then you want it for your son. You want to perpetuate it. So it's just like, it's about stopping that cycle of violence. And it's just so much easier to repeat what was done. We've all seen plenty of activist meetings. We've been big in the movement for a long time. One that really struck me in the heart was we've seen that one of the boy being mutilated and screaming, right? There was a caption over that. Someday he will use the same voice to defend this procedure. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, that's deep. And it's so true. It's so
something I
true.
brought up, something I brought up before is like, I remember a friend of mine meeting his mom and having a conversation with her. And she says, well, I had him circumcised because someday his future girlfriends are going to tell him thank you. They'll thank you for it. So right there, it shows you how men are enslaved from birth to serve women.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And it's not even true because I remember seeing a poll out of New Zealand. That used to be more like the U.S., but they thankfully dropped it there. Like 85% of women preferred intact. some of the women we have in the intactivist movement, they were with an intact man for the first time, and they were shocked at how much better it was. And then you quickly realize this is the natural state. It takes a painful surgical procedure on a non-consenting infant to get away from it. If it took a painful procedure to get foreskin with all of its benefits, that would be unethical. But to remove it,
And
and
the
yeah, I know
original source
personally.
is through religion and their hangups with sex, and you also cover that in your book. And I think that's very important to realize that it was a complete social construct that even came up with the idea of circumcision, and that by nature it wasn't never even intended. And it's supposed to deaden the sexual experience because of these people that had hangups about our sexuality.
Yeah, the 13th century Jewish philosopher Moses Maimonides. You guys familiar with him?
100%.
Yep.
Yeah, he said so. He said that from his Jewish perspective, as God's chosen people, we should not be too sexually promiscuous. Obviously, we can't eliminate sex because then we can't have children. But this at least weakens the pleasure. It's the price we pay for being God's chosen people. So when people get angry at me for comparing it to female cutting, it's like, but that's not about reducing sexual pleasure. Like, oh, yes, it is. Moses Maimonides himself wrote about this way back in the 13th century. John Harvey Kellogg, he wanted to stop masturbation. So, yes, it is totally about weakening sexual pleasure.
And how did they know that in the 13th century, but doctors today can't figure it out?
True.
Explain that.
Well, I think they do, but they don't want to admit it.
Honestly, man, the most difficult part to accept is I've spoken with a lot of physicians online now. A lot of them do know that it's
Yeah.
taking away sexual pleasure. Like this is so difficult to confront because it's really a straight up atrocity that was committed on us, and we're expected to remain nonviolent and peaceful and things like that. And something that I've never heard about the intactist movement yet is we've never been shown any sort of that like no one's killed anyone. And I hate to take it to this
Yeah.
level, but there's been no violence that's used yet, and yet there's no admiration for that. And maybe you shouldn't be calling for that necessarily, admiration for something. It should come naturally.
Well,
But
it's
I have to say, from my perspective, like I do quite a bit to restrain myself. The person that mutilated me lives like less than 30 minutes away from me. His
wow.
practice is right next to me. He butchered me, guys. He raped. I mean, it's a type of rape. It's an intrusion.
It's worse than
He
a lot of rape.
yeah, it's
Because
worse than it's I
it's
want to,
not just
codify it as a
sex.
new type of rape, basically. Super supreme demon rape of the child or something. And it's just dystopian, guys. It's dystopian to live near the person who brutalized you in this way. And I've suffered. I mean, it's been thousands and thousands of hours now, seriously, of suffering because of this. Very intense
We need to
suffering at times. I mean,
we
it
need
felt,
to be loud. We need
yeah,
to be
yeah.
loud. Be loud and visible and constant. Loud and visible and constant. Wear shirts, make flyers, talk to people about it in the gym. Make sure you have all your facts ready to go. Make sure I know, and you guys obviously do, but if they ask what damage does it do, rattle off all the anatomy, rattle off all the studies, be able to rattle all that off. Have your comparisons, black and white TV to color TV. We should just do it constantly. I mean, this is something that people should care about. Carter, when you said these physicians you talk to, they know, do they know and just still not care? Do
I
they
just
know
don't
and
think
they
they
feel
know
it?
the depth, but they're aware that there's a sensory profile to this tissue, and that it's not just not all of them, but they don't have a pathological retardation either, right? So it's
But does
it's
it
not
bother them? Do they
yeah,
care?
they just don't care. Most of them just don't care, in my opinion. Like they even think they don't do it to their children a lot of time. They maybe the nurses more, but maybe not as much the doctors. This is all my own experiences having discussions with people. But yeah, I think it's a total betrayal of trust
And
from this
here
physician
where I'm at
class.
in Utah, there's a lot of it. And they will put you down or shame you into circumcising babies, especially young mothers that don't know any different, don't know better. They'll say, "Oh yeah, well it's better hygiene." They'll appreciate when they're older, and they look down on anybody that's not circumcised, and they say it's because of cleanliness and yeah, I mean, we know
Right.
that you just take care of yourself, teach boys to be hygienically inclined for Christ's sakes. And a lot of times, even that itself is, well, he's just a boy, he's dirty. And the whole thing fits in like a puzzle, with these pieces that degrade men and males in our society. And that's where it comes from. To be a real man, you get circumcised. That's part of it. That, and I've heard that so many times. It's really disgusting. Like anything, everything about men is devalued, and that's part of being a man.
Yep. And well said, well said. But just like how it's kind of, everything's being weaponized against men right now, I think there's an interesting opportunity, and this probably isn't the right terminology to use or the most it's kind of controversial terminology to use, but we can weaponize this issue almost certainly if we play our cards right. And it's just going to require time to just institutionally capture so many different things. Like it is an atrocity. Everyone was really sexist. Men are radically, militantly upset about this, or there's a growing number of men. It could be weaponized to just capture like institutions and portions of government and things like that with and it can help, I think, accelerate the cause of men's rights. Um, where because there's so much passion and emotion behind it and things like that, men are willing to come together on a subject like this.
Anyone know what Robert
Yes.
Kennedy Jr. thinks about this? Because I know in was it circumcisions, there's a list of famous intact men, and there are a
Mhm.
number of Kennedy men on that list. I don't know about Robert Kennedy Jr. himself, but do we know what he thinks about this?
I don't, he's only brought, well, I'll let someone else go in a minute, but I've only seen a very limited amount of context come out from him in relation to this. And it was more in relation to the funding in Africa. Like they were cutting the US aid
Yeah, yeah, the
program.
USA
Yeah,
that got
US
cut.
aid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a huge improvement.
Right.
Even if the goal was just to save money, that's still it's a huge improvement.
Right.
Yes, I
Absolutely.
think it's important, really important, that we show that we not isolate the intactivism cause from men's equality. I think it's so
Oh yeah.
important because people will then realize, oh, well, yeah, we treat men that way in other ways. And it will help convey the whole. And that is important. I don't like to see it separate for men's equality and men's rights. It's all so much importance as a part of it.
Yeah, I
Absolutely.
remember seeing an article on the
I'm
BBC.
sorry to interrupt you, Carl. We have
Actually,
30 seconds left on this discussion.
oh,
It's about to wrap up. So I'm going to send you guys an invite to another one. We'll debrief real quick and then we'll potentially shoot for a little bit more. But I think we could wrap up now. But if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd like to debrief real quick at the very least
sure.
on another Zoom meeting real